And we've had loads of questions in, as you might imagine, and I'll get onto them extremely quickly. I'm going to take the chair's prerogative to ask one question quickly myself. I interviewed a charity CEO at a similarly huge charity to Alzheimer's the other day, and they talked very candidly about feeling quite lonely sometimes as the boss. The buck stopped with them. Those difficult decisions you're talking about, those problems that have percolated up through the organization and eventually arrive at the CEO's desk, and suddenly it's all on your head and no one else can massively do it for you. Is that something that you would recognize as well? Is it lonely at the top?
Yeah, I think that is true. And I mean, I've said this before, but I think one of the issues is that you hear that before you put your hat in the ring to be a chief exec. People say, it's lonely at the top. And I think you don't really understand what that means. For me, it's never particularly been about the weight of decision making. But for me, one of the reasons that sometimes it feels lonely at the top is because, everyone that knows me knows this, I think out loud. So I process by talking and exploring and saying, is this a good idea? And then as it's coming out of my mouth, I think, okay, that's a terrible idea. And so for someone like me, which again comes a lot to those people traits. So we put people as chief execs, and people often are, not always by any means, but are often kind of extrovert and charge their batteries when they're around people. And the difficulty with that becomes when it is a complex problem or a difficult problem. And it often isn't appropriate to speak upwards to the board because you don't want to freak them out at this stage. I just want to talk out loud. Sometimes it isn't, you don't have a peer group that totally understands. I have some brilliantly strong networks of chief exec friends, but everyone's charity is always slightly different. And then talking down within the organization, however tight you are as an exec team, and I've got a brilliant exec team, sometimes, you need to let something percolate before you share with them. And so sometimes it's just like that sense of who do you talk to. And I am a big advocate of coaching, because I think that is a really safe space. Again, I'm very into safe spaces. You've probably got this, but a really safe space to just think out loud and to explore stuff and to not set 100 hairs running in the organization, which I often do. Because if you try to think out loud with the wrong people, you'll get lots of, well, Kate said we were doing this, which I have as well.
Journalists love it when chief executives think out loud, but I'm not sure that your colleagues necessarily will.
I know. My colleagues don't love it.